Over the course of the last 11,000 years, the coexistence of humans and other animals has led to multiple forms of co-domestication. The biological evolution of sheep, originating from its wild ancestor, the mouflon, is no exception. Thanks to wool, humans have been able to improve the conditions in which they live, while sheep have found protection from predators in the form of humans and their other companion, the dog. The codependence of humans and sheep is epitomized by the fact that sheep have lost the ability to molt on their own. Here, an intimate biological pact has formed. Sheep trusted humans to take care of their fleece, in addition to their well-being, and in exchange, they have provided humans with their wool, guidance in the exploration of territories, and nutrition. The properties of wool include thermal insulation, water repellence, elasticity, and fire resistance. These qualities originate partly in the scale-like structure of the fiber's surface, a quality that also enables the creation of threads. Spinning wool into yarn, or felting, led to the development of processes such as weaving and knitting, and these crafts enabled humans to produce endless varieties of products, artworks, and narratives. Within the multitude of wool types that exist today, merino still holds its position as the one that is most appreciated and in demand. Merino fibers are longer and thinner than most other sheep breeds, hence their softness is highly seductive and sought after in the production of garments. Coarser fibers have become viewed as byproducts of sheep farming activities rather than as a useful material. As a consequence, farmers are turning away from rearing coarse wool-producing sheep, calling their future into question.
Anche per la pecora, tutto quello che è filiera legata al suo contesto progressivamente nel tempo è stata erosa. Cioè, se inizialmente, se storicamente erano animali utilizzati per, diciamo, la sussistenza familiare, cioè quindi davano la lana per fare quel golfino, le calze, la carne per quella po' d'alimentazione che poteva servire in ambito familiare, diciamo con l'avvento del progresso, i grossi supermercati, piuttosto che il cambiamento sociale che è avvenuto negli ultimi 30 anni, cioè queste esigenze sono venute sempre più a mancare e quindi progressivamente sono stati abbandonati questi allevamenti e sono state perse anche tutte le conoscenze di trasformazione.
Unlike rustic sheep breeds, the economic value of merino wool is highly monitored. Its price fluctuates within wool trading exchanges and auctions, while the genetics of merino sheep are extensively assessed in order to improve productivity. Sheep have been herded for millennia through nomadic or semi-nomadic practices. Today, these pastoral activities are at risk of disappearing because mobile shepherds must compete commercially with intensive farming. The importance of transhumance, however, is applicable far beyond productivity because it also provides a series of so-called ecosystem services. These include the maintenance of high-altitude pastures, reduction of the risk of wildfires, and prevention of a decline in biodiversity. A simple example of this might be found in the surface of the fruit of Agrimonia eupatoria, which features hook-like spikes that allow them to cling to a sheep's fleece as it passes, hitching a ride that can massively increase the plant's distribution.
Credo che oggi c'è un pastore nuovo, una figura che sia maschile o femminile, che ha introiettato tanti principi, tanti valori, no? E poi comunque questa attività fa fare delle scelte. Ad esempio, la città si propone l'uso attento delle risorse. Per un pastore, un agricoltore, soprattutto di montagna, è indispensabile usare con intelligenza la risorsa e quindi un pascolo non può essere sfruttato a morte. Oggi ci ritroviamo a pensare a un lavoro millenario che nella forma generale non è cambiato tanto, ovviamente ha dovuto adattarsi. La sinergia fra il mondo rurale e il mondo urbano è quello che non c'è più stato e che quindi ha relegato la montagna, marginalizzando i luoghi, abbandonando i luoghi e marginalizzando e le persone che ancora eroicamente se ne prendono cura.
The recent expansion of the Australian wool industry presents itself as a paradoxical counterpart to the challenges that transhuman shepherds face today. With the colonization of Australia in the 18th and 19th centuries, the British Empire imported merino sheep onto Australian soil in order to establish large and highly productive flocks for wool. The expansion of merino sheep farms in Australia grew in parallel to the increase in demand of merino's thin, soft fibers, with devastating effects not only on the environment, but also on native, indigenous Australian populations. Practices such as ring barking, the removal of bark from around the entire circumference of a tree, causing its death, were carried out, creating vast flatlands. Moreover, the wood collected this way was used to build thousands of kilometers of ranches and fences for the ever-expanding merino flocks. The worldwide accessibility and demand of merino wool production has undoubtedly also affected the commerce of thicker and rougher fibers. In Europe, as well as in many other parts of the world, wool supply chains designed to process coarse local fibers have either shut down or have begun processing imported merino wool. The advent of synthetic fibers and the growth in popularity of merino wool has led to the decline of local processing mills. Despite all these challenges, it is still possible to find suitable applications for coarse wool fibers. In fact, up until the late 18th century, it was common in Italy to use wool as filling material for mattresses and upholstery before being replaced by oil-based alternatives, such as foam. In addition to being hyperallergenic and a thermal insulator, wool could also offer sufficient elastic support when used in combination with metal springs.
La pecora brianzola viene allevata nel territorio della Brianza fin dal 1500. Il massimo sviluppo di questa razza si è avuto negli anni 20 e poi è andata via via calando con l'abbandono delle campagne e è arrivata a rischio di estinzione. Oggi abbiamo 1800 pecore distribuite su una quarantina di allevatori in provincia di Lecco, in provincia di Como, in provincia di Monza e Brianza. È una pecora rustica, molto adatta al territorio, non è un animale che viene gestito con la transumanza. Noi abbiamo piccoli greggi stanziali, le pecore rimangono nella stalla o nei pressi di questa, pascolando nei dintorni. Le lane italiane in gran maggioranza sono lane piuttosto rustiche, molto adatte a fare imbottiti. Negli anni il loro utilizzo è andato via via diminuendo per una serie di ragioni. La ragione principale è l'avvento delle materie sintetiche e minori difficoltà di utilizzo di questi nuovi materiali. Recentemente però il discorso della sostenibilità ambientale dei prodotti eccetera sta riportando in voga, diciamo, questi materiali come la lana. La lana oggi di pecora, delle nostre pecore, è considerata praticamente uno scarto e se non viene smaltita in maniera intelligente utilizzandola nei prodotti deve essere conferita come rifiuto speciale. Per gli allevatori questo è un grossissimo problema. La pecora deve essere tosata una volta all'anno per il suo benessere, ma non abbiamo modo di stoccare la lana da qualche parte e di utilizzarla. Quindi utilizzarla è la cosa più naturale, più sostenibile.
The same production method, applied in mattresses, but using wool and natural latex instead of metal springs, can be extended to upholstered furniture at large. This combination of materials and processes can provide an ecologically and socially sustainable alternative to synthetic foams. Paying a greater degree of attention to the extraction of raw materials and production processes can highlight ways in which neglected wool could become a resourceful material instead of an unused animal byproduct.
2 years ago, we received a commission from the National Museum of Norway about wool. They asked us to develop a research project to culminate in an exhibition about this material. For us, it was extremely interesting to actually think about how a product is constructed and to focus much more on what is going on actually inside. I think reapplying wool, it might be an interesting way of doing so, since it is also a way of supporting local farmers that struggle to find applications for these wools. So we think this is a way to somehow apply more of an ecological thinking for the production of the furniture, but at the same time also thinking more largely what the economy that generates a company can do for a larger community.
And in a way, we acted as an external R&D for the company. So we have been working on this project for more than 2 years, and we have been discovering, talking, interviewing plenty of people throughout the process. The fact that we could, in any case, embed some of the people we have been meeting in this process within a design project that is actually real and can have a possible future, I think it's a very important asset for us.
In this moment in time, we really believe that it's much more important to focus actually on rethinking products rather than designing new products. Wool, over the years, it will tend to become much more compact. And with Tacchini, we realize that most probably when the wool will need to be refluffed, remade soft again, it's in a moment in which the textile of the sofa needs to be changed. So it creates also an interesting cycle and relationship with the company and the maintenance of the product.
So in a way, we also like the idea of taking care of an object instead of throwing it away. And what I think is striking is the fact that the object at the end will look totally the same. So we are still talking about those beautiful classic, but then of course the impact in the environment will be much more sustainable.
Small farmers in this moment, they struggle because if they don't have a big quantity of wool, it is very difficult to find places where you can actually wash the wool, because by now the majority of wool all comes from Australia, New Zealand or South Africa. So a project like this, it also has the meaning to, it is a way to think of the ecology of a product, but beyond it, that it also involves animals, it involves farmers, it involves the maintenance of the product. I think it's a much more holistic perspective.